Good afternoon, everybody. We're just waiting for some more schools to join us, and we'll try to make a prompt start at 2:15. Good afternoon, everyone. I see we've got about 20 schools joined us this afternoon. There may be other people just trying to join in as we speak, so we'll just give them 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll make a start on a special question and answer session about Diwali. I hope that you've all enjoyed watching the film in the meantime that we've made for you, and that you've got lots and lots of questions that you would like to ask our special guest. Okay, I think we've given people enough chance to try to join us. I hope everybody has found it a quite seamless experience. It's difficult for me here. I'm not quite sure who's there and who's not there. We're getting used to working in new ways, but some things are still rather new for us. This week, as you know, is a very special week in the Hindu calendar. It's when our friends and neighbours celebrate Diwali, and I know that after watching the film which we sent to schools, we had a lot of schools reply with many questions that you wanted to have answered about traditions, about the festival itself, about the Hindu faith, about special celebrations, and lots of questions about food. So what we want to try to do today is answer as many of those questions as possible. We're delighted that we've been joined this afternoon by Veena Soni. Veena lives in Newcastle, came to England as a small girl, and has a family, grown-up family, which now lives in London. So this time, because of the pandemic, it means that Veena and her family can't be together for this very special time in the Hindu calendar. So we're delighted that she's able to be with us today, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what Diwali means to her and to her family, and then we're going to try to get through as many of the questions as possible that you may have already asked. If you think of questions in the meantime, you'll be able to see that on the side of the screen there's a special question and answer button. There's a little icon with a question mark on it. And through the miracle of technology, if you post a question there, we'll publish it, and we'll try to filter as many of those questions across to Veena for how to answer for you as possible. So question answer facility is there. If we don't get through all of the questions that you have, and I know there are many questions out there, we'll try to catch up and post those questions on our blog at internationaldurham.com. So I'm going to hand over to Veena now. I'm going to have to ask Veena to unmute her microphone because she's on mute at the moment, and then we'll take it from here. Okay, so thank you very much, Veena, for joining us today, and we look
My
forward.
pleasure. Thank you. Hello, can everyone hear me? Hi. Thank you very much for inviting me here today, and it's an absolute pleasure, and especially at a time which is such a happy time for me and my family. As Brian has said, I came here as a young child, so all my celebrations of Diwali have been here. And normally it's one of these wonderful, fun celebrations with all the family, having everybody here with me. But unfortunately, this year, because of the way things are, my husband and I are celebrating it at home, and my family is in London. However, because of technology, we intend to have prayers together through Zoom or one of the sort of any of the mediums that we can find. As you can see, I'm actually standing in front of my place of worship, and I just thought you might want to see what it's like for us here in our place of worship. So I'm standing here, and for me, Diwali doesn't start just on the day of Diwali. Diwali starts weeks beforehand when we start preparing, we start buying presents, we buy gifts for our family, we buy sweets that we give to our friends, and we clean our houses, we get everything ready. We all have new clothes for Diwali, and the actual celebration itself is a 5-day celebration, not just a 1 day, which often people sort of think it is. And it started yesterday, because you saw the Chancellor yesterday putting the candles outside, and that was the start of Diwali. And we would do it, or I have done yesterday, exactly the same. We put the candles at the doorstep, welcoming the goddess Lakshmi to come and welcome her to come into our home and bless our house. So that was the first day of Diwali. Each day of Diwali has a different reason, a different meaning behind it, and it has a different story, which is absolutely lovely. And our children and grandchildren love listening to this story, and they love hearing about why we're celebrating each of the function. And I think that's very important as well. And we often think that we've got Diwali and people think of food and they think of the story of Rama and Sita, which is part of Diwali. But alongside that, there are lots of other stories that go alongside it. So yesterday, there are 2 stories that are about Diwali, or for the first day of Diwali. Then today we call Choti Diwali, which is like a small Diwali. And again, there's a story associated with it. And today people would be going to their friends' houses and everywhere to deliver presents. And then tomorrow is the main Diwali function, followed by, which is the story of Ram and Sita that a lot of you in school would have heard about. And then on the 4th day is Ankut, a day of blessings, and there's a story of Lord Krishna that is associated with that. And then on the 5th day of Diwali, we call it Bhai Dooj, which is a story of brothers and sisters and how families support and help one another. And brothers are always there to support their sisters and help one another. So 5 different stories for the 5 days of Diwali. And normally a time when families are all together enjoying lots of music, lots of dance, lots of parties, lots of good food, and everything that in a way you might associate with Christmas, and we would associate with Diwali. So if you think of all the wonderful time you have at Christmas, then actually our children are having it now, and then they'll probably have it again at Christmas. So actually they're celebrating it twice. So they have 2 lots of presents instead of just 1 lot. Now, I know that's lots and lots of questions to answer, so I think some of what I was going to say might be answered through the questions, and that might be a little bit easier rather than me talking about. Do you want to say the first question, or shall I just start with the questions?
I think if you just start with the questions, Veena, that would be a good way forward.
Super. So a lot of people have asked about what kind of food do you eat, and what do you sort of, at this time of the year, what is it that you make? Is there anything that's particularly special? Well, actually, there's lots. This time of the year, parents, mums especially, start cooking days beforehand because they want to make as many different kinds of sweet food as well as different kinds of curries around this for their children, for their families. And remember, you could often have lots and lots of people come into your house at this time of the year. So on Diwali Day, we have our prayers, and in Newcastle particularly, a lot of people go to the Hindu temple, which is on the West Road. And you can sometimes, I would imagine, on Diwali Day, there must be almost 1,000 people that visit. Some might stay there for a while, some go there, meet their friends and their family and say their prayers there. A lot of people also alongside that would be saying their prayers at home, and this is where I'll be saying my prayers tomorrow. And again, there's a special where we'll be lighting lots and lots of candles and sort of saying our prayers, and the prayers involve a lot of different things that we have to use, a coconut and flowers and fruit and so on, and we offer our prayers. The interesting thing is that, a lot of people say, why are you lighting these candles? And the candles are really there because of the story of Rama Sita, the story of good over evil, the story of remembering that it's about the truth against lies, that it's about good and not bad. And if you think about it, when you're sitting in a dark area, you often feel cold, miserable, upset, and in your mind, when you talk about darkness, you're talking about the evil things that are coming in, the bad things that come in your mind. But the minute you put a light on or a candle on, then all of a sudden you look at things in a totally different way. Things are much better, you feel happier, you feel warmer, and in that respect, candles or light is a very, very significant part of our celebration. Alongside that, we call it Diwali, but the actual name of this Diwali day is called Deepavali. And Deepavali means light, and putting light on and opening the light in your mind and opening to other things. So it's about becoming more open to listening to others, to thinking of others, caring about others, and understanding other people. And isn't it so important at this time, especially as we're on our own, how we think and care about others and look at how we can support others and help others. And I think that's very important. So Diwali is actually the title of the celebration is Deepavali, and it means light, putting candles, putting a deepa on, and the deepa are the divas. So divas like these, that's just one kind of diva that I've got here today. Then we've got another kind, which is more sort of, and there's lots of different colors, lots of different shapes, then lots of different ones that we use, and we put our fill these with oil and then put a wick into it, and we light them in all around our house and outside. And if you look in the film, you'll see that there was a number of pictures where, just as we put lights on for Christmas, in India, they would be putting the lights on for Diwali. And food. Well, I've made some food just to show you the different kinds of foods I would normally have been making for my family. So we have samosas that you're familiar with, spring rolls, but the Indian style spring rolls. And as you can see, they're sort of much larger and filled with, you can either have veg or non-veg. At one time, people would only eat vegetarian food at celebrations, but now as time has gone on, people have changed, and even in India, so that they have both veg and non-veg food. That's another kind of dish that we've sort of, and then lots of curries. So I've been cooking lots of different kinds of curries, which my family would normally love and enjoy. And then, of course, lots of sweet kinds of food. So lots of things that people can enjoy. I hope you can see them all, but there's lots of different kinds of sweet made out of semolina, sugar, butter, milk, lots of nuts, lots of almonds, lots of cashew nuts, and the kind of things that people would, I'm sure all of you would enjoy eating. So lots and lots of different kinds of food, and these are offered first to the gods in prayer time, and then after that we have all our celebration and our parties, and we enjoy and have lots to eat. So Veena, very, very enjoyable.
Veena, can I just ask, when your children were very small, what were their favourite things that they looked forward to eating at Diwali?
So when my children were young, Diwali was like absolutely amazing for them. Foods was meant that they had all their favorite food cooked on that day, and normally they wouldn't have that because of course you can imagine everyone's at work, so I'm at work, my husband's at work and everything, but they knew at Diwali all their favorite food would be, and different kinds of curries that is their favorite. I would make that, and alongside that, I think, you know, their favorite still. My grandchildren even now rang yesterday and they were saying, "Oh, Grandma, you know, I want samosas. Don't forget when you come or whenever. I want my samosas. I want." So for them, the favorite is having these lovely samosas that they can eat red hot, just cooked and straight, you know, coming off this sort of gas and eating it, and it has a totally different taste to if you were eating it from something that you've just bought outside. The home cooking has a different taste altogether to it. So it's for them, that's a favourite.
You're making me feel very hungry now. And I was looking at some of the questions which have come from Mrs. Ribchester and Mrs. Heslopstead and Mr. Simpson, which relate to Hindu gods and deities. You said that you offered prayers to the gods and to the goddesses, and Mrs. Ribchester's class asks, how many gods are there and what are their names? That's also the question from Mrs. Heslopstead's class, and Mr. Simpson's class asks a particular question that says, how was it that Ravana's ego was his weakness?
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting, that and the question, that last one is really interesting because that's the whole basis of Diwali. Because number one, Hindus believe that there is only one God, but what they do believe is that there are different forms of the same God. So we believe in the Trimurti, which means that there is a beginning, a middle and an end. And when it's Lord Brahma is the beginning, and he is the one who the creator. So when he is the creator, it's Lord Brahma. When it is the preserver and looking after everything, making sure, that is Vishnu, and the destroyer is Lord Shiva. So three are the main gods, and then there are different forms. So it is considered that it was Lord Vishnu who came down as Rama, Lord Vishnu who came down as Krishna, and so on. So they came in different forms. What we believe is that there is one God, but when they have a different role to play, or so, because people often say, oh, you've got the God of wind and the God of rain and God of this and that. What actually is that there is just a name given to a God when it is playing a different role, but we believe in one God. And when we were saying about prayers, we believe that certain days in the week are for certain gods. So we believe that there sort of is that particular day is dedicated to that God. But Diwali, we believe that the 5 days are dedicated to different gods and God. So on the first day yesterday, by putting the candles out, we are welcoming and we are welcoming the goddess Lakshmi to come into our house. And goddess Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth, and it is considered that on that day she is roaming and she goes to different people's houses who welcome her and give them good health and prosperity and so on. And on yesterday, it is on that day that you normally give your children a gift, or you would give them. So this year, because of the way things are, I haven't bought them gift, but I've just, you know, told them, here's your money, get whatever you want, and it's up to you. So that's how. But yesterday is the day when that takes, and on that day people normally buy a new item for their home. So a lot of people would have bought something that they would use in the kitchen, something that they might have wanted to buy in their house. If they wanted to buy a new car or a new whatever, that's the day that they would buy it. Now, tomorrow is Diwali, so on tomorrow we would be playing to, let's see if I can find one of my, so this is only a small, but it's over there. So this is the Ganesh Bhagwanji and Lakshmi, Goddess Lakshmi, and it is actually on the day that we would be actually praying. Here's a big one of Ganesh. So Ganesh is the remover of all obstacles. So on the prayers that we do, we would be praying to Ganesh to get rid of all obstacles in the future. And we would be remembering the story of Rama and Sita, and remembering how the difficulties they went to, and why did the fight take place? Why was there, what happened? What, you know, sort of what caused, and why is it that Rama was killed in the end? You talked, somebody mentioned about the ego, and that's exactly what we are taught, that we can all be wonderful people. And Ravan was a very, very intelligent, very learned, very, very well-versed person. But it was when he became arrogant, when he became the kind of person who began to think, actually, I'm better than everyone else, and you have to do what I'm saying, and it's me. And it's when we have this word, me, that's when things start going wrong. And it was his ego then caused him to do. And it all started off, if you look at the actual books, when he wanted Sita for his wife, because she was very pretty, and she said no, his ego couldn't deal with that. And because he couldn't deal with that, he took her away and everything else, and that was his downfall. So what they're teaching us, that every single one of us has this within us, but it is for us to control it and realize that it is not me, but ours. So everything belongs to all of us, and everything we should be thinking of each other, not just about ourselves and me. So
that's a very important message, especially today. I know that some of the children in school have been doing things for children in need, and it's also International Kindness Day today, which falls quite nicely here. And there's a couple of other points that schools have put forward. Mrs. McGrath at Langley Moor Primary School has said her class 3 children would like to know if there is a most popular of all the gods that Hindus particularly pray towards. And Mrs. Ribchester's class has asked, you know, in Christianity, Christmas always falls on the same day. Easter changes from one year to the next. With Diwali, is it always at the same time of the year?
No. So there's a number of them. Number one, it doesn't fall in the same time year because our celebrations are all with the lunar moon. So depending on the moon, it is decided what day each of the festivals, and that's not just one festival, that's all the festivals. So each year they will be on different dates, and that's because we all rely, the priests look at the moon, and based on the moon they will decide the next 10 years or 5 years as to what dates the celebrations will take, because it's all talks about 14 days after this and or 10 days before this, so it all depends on the lunar moon as to when the celebrations take place. So that's, and to talk about the most what the god that people probably, I think I just need to say one thing that's quite important, is that India is a very, very big country. It's a really big country, and different parts of the country believe that certain gods are more important for them, because it might be that those gods, so I talked about Vishnu was born a number of times, his reincarnation was a number of times. So at one point he was in Gujarat, and so Lord Krishna is particularly prayed to in Gujarat because Krishna was born and lived in that area. And even today, I've just been not so long ago at the beginning of the year, we went to the Krishna temple and we saw, and it had gone into the sea and how it's been brought back up and the whole, so, you know, it was beautifully. And so Krishna's probably more in that area. Now, if you go down to the south, they have a different, and it's Lord Vishnu again, but a different form of Lord Vishnu, and that's where he spent a lot of his time and was seen there. So different parts of the country have different favourites. That's, I think, very important to recognise. If you were to talk about the children of Newcastle particularly, I would say that their most favourite god is probably Lord Krishna. And that because there's a lot of stories around where he was quite a typical young child and behaving in typical young, you know, doing things wrong, being a little bit silly, doing this, doing that. So because there's lots of stories associated with that, I think people really enjoyed Lord Krishna, and they find that very close. And the other one that people are very close to as well is Ganesh, because again, there are stories around why he's got the elephant head, and because he's the remover of all obstacles. Even when people wake up in the morning, our children, my children and everyone else, they wake up and they first put their hands together to Lord Ganesh to get rid of obstacles. You know, hope everything goes well at school today. I hope I'm able to do this. I hope you're going into an exam, you go in and you pray to Lord Ganesh, okay, help me in my studies and help me in my exams. So yes, I would say those two are probably the most important. But then Ram and Sita this time of the year, everybody and everyone in India, there are proper stories, plays, they're all done in front of thousands and thousands of people. They redo this and they play these stories, and they do proper plays where hundreds of people go and visit and see. So different parts are different.
And that leads nicely into a couple of questions which have come from Wingate Primary School. Children at Wingate Primary School asked two questions. One, how do Hindus pray? What form does that prayer take? And the second point is, how do you feel personally when you're praying and celebrating? And Mrs. Parvin's class asked the question, why is everything so colourful?
Okay, there's first of all, I must say to you that every Hindu home has their own place of worship. So you go into any Hindu home, you will always find either one little area that is their prayer place, and it might just only consist of a couple of the deities and somewhere where they can light their diyas, or it might be a little bit bigger. And again, I think if you saw the film, you saw that they had a different kind of area which they had designated for their prayer area, but every single home has their own. So you can't, and people pray every single day. So you wake up in the morning and I light a diya here in the morning, and then it's in the evening I would light a diya. So every day people say their prayers. My children in their home, it was extraordinary because although we've taught them, I wasn't expecting, or I didn't in my, but when my son was moving out, the first thing he said was, Mom, I need to know where's my stuff so that I can say my prayers in the morning. So again, you know, sort of, so it does pass on from one person to another, one generation to another, and all three of them are living in different homes, but they all have their prayer areas which they pray every morning. And so this is every home, but alongside that, we have the Hindu temple, which is in on the West Road. There's another one in Middlesbrough, and the third one would be up in Glasgow. So Edinburgh, Glasgow, there's a temple, and here. So, you know, it's quite a distance away, and for people who couldn't go so far, it's sometimes better for them to be able to pray. But it's believed that God is everywhere, and you can go anywhere and pray, and therefore even praying in your house is the same as praying at the temple. So as I say, in big celebrations, we would go. I would normally go to the Hindu temple at Diwali. and as does thousands of other people who too want to go. But every day I say my prayers here. I wake up in the morning, I get showered, etc., and I come and say my prayers here. And again in the evening we say prayers here. And you can see we have the deities here. I have my diya here, and I light a diya every single day, and I pray to God. And we have mantras, we have prayers, and we decide which we want to do. We can either just do one, or we can do lots of them. And people have different that they want to say and believe in, and that's what they say. Okay. And you asked about colourful. Actually, I've just read, and the important thing that is, we believe that when you are happy, you are able. God wants you to be happy. He doesn't want you to be sad. And by putting the colour, it's to help you to be positive, to think positively, and to pray and be positive. And that's why there's always colour, which is very different to many religions.
We have a question from a young man, Jacob at Sugar Hill School, asks, what are the origins of Hinduism?
Right, there is no origin of Hinduism. It is believed that Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world, and it is a religion that there is no beginning. There is nothing which tells you that this is the day that Hinduism started. All the books since the beginning is what it says. There is the Upanishads, the Purans, all the books that you can see are the oldest scriptures that have ever been found. So there's actually never a date put on the beginning. All it says in all of them is that Hinduism existed before anything else existed. So it's been always there. There is no date.
Thank you. And children at Ebchester Primary School are keen to know about perhaps other Hindu festivals, and Mrs. Lynn's class asks, are there normally festivals in towns and villages to celebrate Diwali, or is it always in your own home?
No. Gosh, in fact, I've just been talking to somebody in India there in Delhi, and they were saying it's like, I mean, it's amazing out there, even though it's COVID. And even though they've been told not to, go out, they said you can't get moved. They said it's about everybody getting together. And a lot of houses there, remember, have flat roofs as well, whether it's in villages, towns, and a lot of people go on the roof and they put all their diyas on, and it's just absolute. And actually, what I would suggest, if you ever go online and look, there's always a satellite picture sent at Diwali, which shows you the lights, and you see India, and you see the amount of light that is being sent out from the country, and it's all the diyas that are lit. And so it's a very, it's not just about going to the temple, it's about everybody celebrating it together, and it's one of the most popular celebration. But there are stories before that. So leading up to Diwali, we had the 9 days of Navratris, where again, people all over India and across the world get together. They pray to goddess Durga, and they have lots of dancing. So again, when I was in India, you could have 5,000 people on the ground doing Garba dancing and Dandiya dancing. So there are lots and lots of different kinds of celebrations that lead up to Diwali. But then you've got the celebration of Lord Krishna, which again is a very, very popular with a lot of. None of our celebrations are about just sitting down and being quiet. It's all about dancing and music and food and color and getting yourself dressed up and enjoying yourself. All of them are like that.
Well, Veena, you look magnificent with your lovely dress there, and thank you for letting us come into your home today and to share some information about this very important festival. I noticed from some of the messages in our Q&A that some of the children already, it's getting near home time for them, and we have to bring this session to an end. I hope that that's answered a lot of your questions. If you have more, you can still send them to us by email, and we'll ask Mrs. Soni if she can reply to those, and we'll post as many of the questions and answers on our blog as possible. I also wanted to say a big thank you to our friends and colleagues at Gem Arts who have been working with us to produce the great workshop videos around storytelling, about shadow puppet theatre, and with Bollywood dancing. And I hope that you take the guidance of Veena and think that to really mark Diwali, it's all about getting up and joining in and listening to the stories, understanding the purpose and the background to the festival, but also celebrating and enjoying it, doing some dancing, enjoying the story, taking part and finding out, and above all, remembering that it's a time to look towards the light, look towards hope, to try to overcome obstacles, and to think about being kind, being generous to the people that we care about in our families, the people we care about in our classes, and the people that we care about in our communities. So thank you again, Veena, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We're really sort of like delighted to share this with you. So thank you very much, and thank you everyone.
Thank you, everyone. That was lovely. Thank you.